Guillermo del Toro spent 3 decades, that's right, 30 years chasing Frankenstein. He called it a story that lived in his DNA. But after 2.5 hours, I have to ask, did his dream finally crack the one thing that every Frankenstein adaptation gets wrong? Visually, I think the movie is pretty stunning, but emotionally, it's a little bit all over the place.
True.
I was excited to talk about this movie. I was looking forward to it. I am a big Guillermo del Toro fan, and I'm curious to see where it landed with you guys. So let's get into it. Of course, Frankenstein was written in the 1800s by Mary Shelley.
Right.
And it's been adapted many, many times, and it is a difficult thing to adapt, in my opinion. The themes are very complex and nuanced. There's themes of feminism, of parenthood. Shelley herself was 18 when she began writing the book, and I believe she was pregnant like 5 times at this point in her life. Lost the majority of those children, if I remember correctly. So there's a lot of maternal themes, paternal themes, parenthood, and all this stuff. So it's a very complex and deep story. So you're always going to get those people who are like, this isn't like the book. But as a filmmaker, as a film, if anybody could do it, I would imagine that Guillermo del Toro can, because he has a very specific vision.
I thought he told both sides very well. Very good movie. Interesting the way that they told the story. Yeah, I don't think I had many problems with this. It was good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I don't think I've ever seen a Frankenstein movie in its entirety. I was surprised by the telling of it from like the monster side of all this. Although I did enjoy this, I felt like Poor Things maybe was like a better telling of like a Frankenstein type story. I know they're not exactly the same, but they're pretty similar. Yeah, but I thought it was good. I didn't really feel the length or anything. It was a pretty easy watch for me. I do agree, though, on your point about emotions. It was a little jarring, the shift of his rage from, and then going to like, oh, I actually forgive you, you know?
So the movie is a considerably different telling. However, the movie has a different, I think, message to convey. Really similar to a lot of movies we've watched this year of like what it means to be human. Mm-hmm. I think was what the story was really trying to tell, because we're watching this creature become human and discover himself, right? And his humanity. And that whole thing is boiled down to the quote at the end of the movie: the heart will break and yet brokenly live on. So what does that mean? That means like, you know, in life as a human being, you will experience a lot of heartache, you will experience a lot of pain, but you will eventually, like, it's about how you deal with those things. However, at 2.5 hours, I felt like the movie was very rushed. Specifically, I felt it was very top heavy. The first half of the movie is like all about Victor and like why he is the way he is. And then it transitions into the monster's perspective. But to me, the movie was more about the monster's identity, not really about Victor. I just felt it was like too one-sided, that by the time when you get to the monster stuff, none of it just felt very rushed to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think they did a good job of portraying it through Victor's lens, but
yeah,
as we know, he was like very egotistical, so he could have been like that from like birth or whatever. When we're looking at him and how he views his father, like his father is like not a good dad, but it could just be like how he's seeing it, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think they did a good job of portraying that part. But yeah, I think I do agree that once it got to the monsters thing, it wasn't
the creature, Marvin. He's not a monster.
Sorry, the creature. It wasn't as fleshed out as I would have liked. Yeah.
That problem with stories like this, the last one I think I watched, I just looked it up, was The Last Duel. This is a Ridley Scott movie with Adam Driver, where you're basically telling the story from, I think The Last Duel is 3 different perspectives, whereas this one you really just get 2. You get the monster's perspective and Frankenstein's perspective. But when you do that, you have this problem where you're trying to tell the same story, but from a different perspective, and add new information that you didn't have, but not just regurgitate the same information you already have. And I don't think that it didn't bother me too much. And I didn't have any problems with the pacing of it. I don't know, rushed. I didn't even look at the time difference between both of their stories.
It's weird to say a 2.5-hour movie felt rushed. I just felt that by the end, a lot of the emotional beats of the story that were supposed to land didn't really land for me.
I would have liked to seen this as like a mini series where they tell one more story of like what he does next. Does he get his bride? You could have done like a 3-shot mini series and told an even better story. Instead, we got this like really long one movie that could have been 2. So I kind of get a little bit, but I thought it was all right. Yeah.
It reminded me of The Last of Us when we watched the show and when Joel calls, I forget her name.
Baby girl.
Yeah, in the show. And it's like, what just happened?
It wasn't just that too. For me, it was like the emotional beats of like Elizabeth. Like I understand her character. She's a very warm person and she's compassionate.
Mm.
And she sort of identifies with the creature a little bit. She sees herself in the creature in that they are both outsiders, like sort of trying to figure out like who they are as individuals.
I get that it was like, she was saying how he was pure and he was like, like untainted and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing.
It seemed like they didn't really flesh it out enough. Like it was like kind of out of nowhere. I'm like, how did she really fall for this?
We're introduced to him while he's hunting Victor down, seemingly.
Yeah.
Killing like dozens of men to get to him. And then suddenly like, okay, I forgive you, my bad. You're cool.
Right. It's like that whole part. It's like 30 minutes was cut.
I don't understand how he got to the point we see him at the end of the movie where he's like, I live with deep regret. I'm sorry for what I've done.
And I would have loved to see that redemption. Like, what did he do to actually deserve forgiveness and this sort of thing, right? Like,
all he did was acknowledge the creature's like feelings, really, which might be what Guillermo del Toro was going for. Like maybe the creature, all he wanted was validation from his father, right? Of like, I'm sure that's part of it, but that's not enough for me to just, I think the emotional beats, that was the biggest thing that I bumped into. It didn't really work for me. Outside of like his relationship with the blind man, that's one that I understood.
That was definitely like one of the best standout parts of the movie for me.
As far as like the actual movie, it's like it's an objectively very good movie. Like the performances were out of this world. Oscar Isaac is no stranger to dominant performances. He really portrayed that like obsessive megalomania really, really well.
Yeah, he really did.
Despite being underdeveloped, I thought Elizabeth was like, I thought she was played great by Mia Goth.
It actually was crazy how good she was, like you said, with how underdeveloped she was. Like every time she was on screen, it was great.
She's a great actress.
She actually had some really good dialogue, like when they first met, and she was talking about the wars and like how the people sitting back home are like pampered, and the people, they're dying, and I thought that was good. So I feel like they should have leaned more into her.
Totally. Because she's the compassionate center of everything. Like she's the one who ties it all together. True. And, we only get to see that briefly. And then all of a sudden it just springs into a romance. I don't really understand what he was trying to do between her and Victor. Obviously she just saw their relationship differently than he did. I just don't understand like what that was supposed to be. Like they go like I don't know. Does she like see him as a friend? She obviously doesn't see him romantically, but maybe she does, because there's that one moment where she like storms off. She's like, I've made my choice, where she's like upset with herself that like she even entertained Victor. Like it was like, I don't know. It's just, I just feel like you got bits and pieces of these people really. But pretty ultimately a lot of the movie hinges on the performance of the creature, who's played by Jacob Elordi. He had to convey emotion for the majority of his time on screen without actually being able to speak. So he did a really great job with his body language and stuff like that. And, really sold the role really well, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
My other big problem with this movie, this looked like a Netflix movie. Let's just say it looked like a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Now the visuals were stunning because it's Guillermo del Toro. The set design was great. Like the costume design was awesome. The creature design was awesome. All that stuff, the world, it looked beautiful. It was shot beautifully, but it looked like a British television show.
Yeah, it did.
The blown out lighting. I was like, there was a lot of times in this movie where I was like, I felt like I was going blind at how much like the light was in your eyes. It's a very common thing these days. It fucking drives me crazy. Ultimately, this didn't look like a film. Producing it for Netflix, you have to, like, a lot of their productions have to take into account the degradation that happens through the way they transmit the movie over across a variety of internet strength and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Like, if it wasn't enough for me to like dislike the movie or not enjoy the movie, but I really hated the way this movie looked. Like, it just looked like a mini series on Netflix.
I look forward to reading the book to see the differences. But I think he did a good job of telling the story of Frankenstein in the way that he wanted to tell it.
I don't know that he really earned it with this one. I do love all his movies, but like he's not infallible, right? It's not it's not a perfect movie. It's objectively a good movie in all the ways that movies are good. Those themes and stuff that he wanted to convey, like I got the point, but like I didn't really feel it. You know what I mean? There was like one moment where I got a little bit emotional. I didn't like full on cry. But it was when Elizabeth first meets the creature and he's like playing with the leaf and like you see his innocence and his curiosity and she kind of identifies with that. It was like a nice moment. But beyond that, I didn't really feel much.
That was a good moment. I mean, I did feel something, the last dialogue between him and the old man before he passed.
It's a difficult story to adapt. Like Dusty said earlier before we lost him to internet issues, it kind of demands like careful pacing and nuance and stuff that might be better suited for a longer storytelling format like a show or a mini series or whatever.
Right.
And most adaptations have failed because, as we said, they simplify one side of the moral equation, which this is also guilty of. So my initial question, does this do what other adaptations have failed to do? No, honestly, it doesn't. Is it a good adaptation? Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. Is it exactly like the book? Absolutely not. People have, fair criticisms, I guess, if you've read the book. The novel thrives on ambiguity. There's really no ambiguity in this, and that's kind of where it sits,
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. I'd probably never watch it again, though. I've been thinking about this since I watched it, and I kind of, it's tough. Like I enjoyed the movie. It's a good movie, but like I also, I don't know. I just,
it's got some flaws.
Yeah,
it's got a good amount of flaws. So,
I don't know. It just didn't make me feel anything, and that's not good. So
it made me feel stuff, but it didn't make me feel enough for the content that it should have been portraying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so 7.6. I don't know. How would you rate it?
I would probably give it probably like a 7.5. It's there. Like it's good. It's still a great movie, but it's lacking in some key areas.
Yeah. From a craftsmanship perspective, I mean, I would give it a 7. It's a very well made movie. But the storytelling was a little short for me. Fell a little flat. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think of it, folks. Let us know. Leave a comment down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Have you read the book? I don't think this particular telling of it was that complex, but let us know if we've missed anything.